Hey, I'm Kayla. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to bring you part 2 of my fall reading wrap up, which is all of my November reads. Go check out part 1 where I talked about everything that I read in October. November was a very solid reading month for me. I ended up reading 14 books. The longest book I read was Quicksilver by Callie Hart, which was 624 pages. And then the shortest book that I read was Mary Ever After by Tessa Bailey, and that was 54 pages. I had 2 5-star reads of the month, and that was Book Lovers by Emily Henry and Passenger Princess by Morgan Elizabeth. Okay, Roman was just sitting next to me, holding his bone, waiting for me to launch him to the couch. I started off the month by reading Passenger Princess by Morgan Elizabeth, and it was a 5-star read for me. I keep saying that I think this book was Kayla coded. It felt like me. I loved our female main character, Ava. Watching Roman choke on his bone. She was great. She just won a Miss Americana, like a Miss America competition, and she was the underdog, the black sheep. She'd never really done pageants before. The only reason she put herself in this race was so she could help her friend. She wanted to model her friend's dresses and get her designs on a national platform, and she ends up winning. And so we open the book, and Ava is getting ready to go on her national tour. She'll drive all around the United States, and she'll meet with people that connect to her cause, and her cause was women-owned businesses. So all summer she's going to go along, and of course on this road trip she needs a driver if she's going to be her passenger princess. Who's driving? And that is her bodyguard, Jamie. Jamie was just a great guy. He was great from the start, even when he was just like getting to know her. He does all these little things for her, like he buys all of this non-dairy ice cream so she can try and find her favorites, and he goes to the bookstore and tells the workers like what books she reads so they can pick out books that are like that for her to read. He sets up the car for her, like just all these like cute little things. He was an acts of service type of book boyfriend, and we loved him. And yeah, I loved Ava. I loved her attitude. I loved her just like personality. She was unapologetically herself. She believes in what's right and being authentic and being kind, and just loved it. Loved her. I also just read another Morgan Elizabeth book, Tis the Season for Revenge. Another one. I really loved it. So Morgan Elizabeth might be a new favorite author of mine. One that I wanted to like, but I just really couldn't, was Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher. This is the one that I read for about 2 months. I was reading it during my Fall in Love with Football challenge videos, and Lauren Asher books are just really easy to read. So I was keeping it around, but the other reason I was keeping it around to read was because I didn't care. I simply did not care what happened to our characters. I didn't connect with either our female or our male main character. Our male main character I didn't hate him. He didn't drive me nuts, but I just didn't care. I'm hoping that I really like the way that Lauren Asher sets books up. So I'm hoping that reading My December Darling, which is her holiday novella, is a better reading experience for me than this one was. I want to enjoy her. I enjoy her writing style, but this one just didn't hit for me. I think I ended up giving it a generous 3 stars. And then I lumped my 3 Fallen Crest Tejan books that I read all together, but I read them sporadically throughout the month. That was Fallen Crest Family, Fallen Crest Public, and Fallen Fourth Down. I don't count these ones as like 5-star reads that I've discovered, because these are 5-star reads from when I read them in 2014. But they are all 5-star reads for me. There are just some series and characters that you love and you give 5 stars to no matter what. So I am continuing to churn along with my Tejan reread. I'm on book 6 right now, and the 9th book comes out in 1 week, actually. That'll be exciting. The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. I gave this one 4 stars, but I didn't mean it. I think I just gave it 4 stars on Goodreads because I just wanted to be kind to it. This was a fine book. I liked the premise. They are script writers. He is like a very accomplished script writer, and our female main character has had not that much luck, but she's been able to find success with smaller projects that she's written. She's a good writer, but she's been a caretaker for her father for a lot of time. So this book is about her really getting to take back control of her life. There were a couple things I liked, a couple things I didn't like. The overall feeling of this one was a Hallmark movie, like one that you forget. I can't remember our characters' names. And I was actually doing pretty good with some of these other ones, remembering like Jamie and Ava from Passenger Princess. I didn't have that written down. But yeah, this one, meh. For my first Catherine Center book, it was not anything special, but it was a fine read. Quicksilver by Callie Hart was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Not that I thought it was going to be bad, but I think I was a little nervous after getting through the Zodiac Academy and not loving it, that maybe I wasn't a romantasy reader. I think finishing that journey just like had me questioning a lot of things. But I came into this one not knowing it was a part of a series. So having that reading experience of not knowing it was going to be a cliffhanger was a little rough. I guess I just thought by the length of it, it was an over 600-page book. I just kind of thought that that would be it. It was just going to be a standalone, but joke's on me. But I will continue the series when it comes out. This was a solid 4-star read for me. Probably a 4 or 5 on Fable. But I haven't continued importing all of my books from Fable, so it's a whole thing. This next book I also did a full vlog for, and that's Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Like I mentioned earlier, this was another 5-star read for me. I had such a better experience reading Book Lovers than I did reading Beach Read, and I was so happy. I was very nervous after I got done with my Beach read, and I didn't love it. I didn't care about our characters. I was super nervous that I wasn't going to like other Emily Henry books. And then I was questioning, am I broken? These are Emily Henry books. She's like the new romance author. She is like the 2020s. So I was so happy to love Book Lovers. Oh, the banter. They bantered so well. The main thing I loved about this book was the ending, honestly. It could have gone a couple ways, and it went just the right way. It was perfect. For this next book, I told myself I was going to make all of these reviews spoiler free, but I actually have to do a spoiler for this next book, so I will let you know. But if you just want to skip it all, skip it all. It's not that good. This is How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn. I don't think I've even rated this one. I don't know what I would give this one. Maybe a 3, maybe a 3.25. Because I kept reading it. I was hooked by the story. But honestly, after I read it, I like kind of sat there and I was like, what did I just read? I don't know if that was like the epilogue or if it was just like all of it in general. I think this book was trying to do too many things. It tried to be too serious. It tried to be too funny. It tried to be too outrageous. And It didn't do any of those things well. The best part of this book was the narrator. The narrator was so funny and so witty. And if we would have taken some of the grief storylines out and reworked the like fight that they had, I think it would have been much better. So now I'm going to talk about the spoilers. So this is my spoiler section if you want to read it. I think it's absolutely freaking insane that she wrote his parents getting into the car crash and then him being at his house and her coming over. Like, so you're going to tell me that he is aware that his parents were in the car crash, but he doesn't know how, like, the severity of it. He's by himself on the porch, which is already like, that's weird. Fine, sure. You're telling me that like he has no family, no other like extended family around, or even like his friend Max's family isn't going to be there supporting him. Fine. That news is the type of news that you are wearing all over your body. It's in your mannerisms, it's in your face. Like, you're telling me he wasn't crying, he wasn't distressed. So she just waltzed up, plopped herself down, and was like, I hate everybody, this town sucks, blah blah blah, all these things that were selfish and self-centered. But you're telling me she didn't look at this man and be like, huh, why are your eyes red? What's going on with you? Like, because that's the whole thing. She doesn't know that his parents died in the crash, and she doesn't know that she was with him that night. Unrealistic. So freaking unrealistic. You did too much. You did too much with the. If we were gonna have all of the grief storyline and helping our main character through his grief, then my light died. I don't know where I was when my light died, but I thought that was ridiculous. Spoiler is now over. So yeah, I think this story was trying to do way too much. You could have had the Christmas Kringle competition and not had the grief storyline, or you could have had the grief storyline and him healing from it and not the crinkle competition, but both on top of like the other like main storyline, which is the female main character and her sister are in town with their sick aunt. It's just like way too much going on the whole book. Then the prologue was crazy. So yes, it was spicy, but I also don't want to read through a bunch of grief to get to the spice. I used to read Megan Quinn books. Like, I read a ton of Megan Quinn books in 2012, 13, 14. Some of my favorite books of that era were Megan Quinn books. I loved her, like, Bourbon Street series. I think it was like The Jet Girl, Becoming a Jet Girl. Loved it, loved it, loved it. But all of the modern Megan Quinn I've read this year has been not good for me. I didn't really love Bridesmaids for Hire. I didn't really love this one. So I'm interested to see, yeah, am I going to continue to like modern Megan Quinn, or did I like her back in the day? Oh my goodness, I feel like this is the reading vlog of book vlogs. My next book I also made a book vlog for, and that was The Truth According to Ember by Danica Nava. This was her debut novel, and I really, really enjoyed it. Our female main character, Ember, is a Native American woman who has struggled with landing a job that gives her, a career, some upward mobility. And so she decides to put on a job application that she lists that she's white, and she kind of beefs up some of her qualifications. And so this whole book is about Ember trying to kind of make up for all of her lies and eventually see if they're going to catch up to her. It was really cute. The one thing I will say is I was reading it, and a bunch of times I was just like, oh goodness, like stop. Like, I was mad at Ember, but I mean, Ember is like 25. She's in her mid-20s, she's figuring it out, and once I reminded myself, that was all just a little bit better. This next one I feel like was a this one was a false advertisement, and that's Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld. And it was a false advertisement in so many ways. The first false flag was that it is the story of a writer who writes for a show that's basically Saturday Night Live. Like, it is written exactly like this show is Saturday Night Live. And I was so excited because I love that show and I thought this concept would be really cool. Well, you only get that for like the first 100 pages. And then freaking COVID hits. I'm sorry. No, no, we did this. We lived this. No. So then, not only did COVID hit, for 55 pages, it was emails. I was reading emails between these people, and I was so mad. I was like, am I working? Or am I reading a romance novel? Because I'm definitely not reading a romantic comedy because this has no freaking humor in it. And now we have 250 pages of COVID. How funny was COVID? Not at all. So the fact that this book is literally called romantic comedy is a joke to me. I don't even want to get into the premise. Like, just don't think this one is going to be funny. Like, it's not. It also like had a good ending, but again, yeah. No. I don't think we needed this one yet. Like, COVID was not that long ago. I don't even know when this one came out. I don't know if she was writing it when all of it was just so fresh, but this one absolutely did not hit for me. And I don't even think I don't think I've rated it. Probably a 2.5 star for me because I kind of like the beginning half, but it was a struggle to read. I read it pretty slow and it clearly enraged me a little bit. This next one was my second book by this author, but I will say it was one of the Christmas novellas, so it was only a short story, and that is Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood. I talked about this one in my TBR jar update video. I ended up reading it for the book that was less than 200 pages prompt. It's funny because I read it for that prompt, but I actually think it should have been a full-length novel. My one complaint about this short story was that so much of it was flashbacks, and it was flashbacks to set up the story where we are now. But then again, you didn't really get to be in the now because it was just a short story. So I think I would have liked to see this premise in a longer form story. And also, I didn't like the weird, like, she like held him as a baby and then like connected with him and just like knew. And I was like, this is like giving Edward, or this is giving Jacob imprinting to Renesmee. I'm sorry. No, I don't like it. It gives me the ick. So that was my other Ali Hazelwood read. And then another kind of disappointing short winter story was Merry Ever After by Tessa Bailey. And I actually started to listen to this one first, and it is a dual POV story, and I think that kind of freaked me out. I listened to like the first 13 pages, and I think it was just harder to listen to a first person narrative. The other two audiobooks that I ended up listening to were third person narrators, so that was just, it's kind of easier to listen to a story in that way. I also didn't like when the voice switched and when it was the male audiobook guy. I was like, nope, I was not ready for that. I did end up liking his voice, but again, it was just like really hard for me to actually like understand the story. Oh my goodness, that is it. So those were the 14 books that I read in November. I did pretty good, I gotta say. And I am going to finish crushing up my 100 book goal for the year, which feels really, really good. I started off the year not really knowing how much I was going to read, but knowing that I was going to try to read more than I have in past years. And I absolutely crushed that. At the beginning of this year, I said I wanted to read 25 books. I'm going to end up being about 4 times that, which feels incredible. Coming back to reading after being away from so long is just like, my heart is full. My heart is so happy. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I hope you have a great day.